Hello, beautiful souls. I'm just gonna make sure my sound is good here. I think I might have the wrong mic set. Let me just make sure. Alright, just let me know if my sound is alright, if there's any issues. It looks like it's good right now. Or if it's too low, also. I just monkeyed around with my thing here, so I got a little. Yeah, it should be okay. But anyway, hello. Welcome to Night's Light Astrology. So today we're talking about the Barbault Basket that everyone's been talking about. Going through some kind of misconceptions with what it actually is. And then we're going to get into just the readings around it, to kind of in this window where we've got two grand sextiles. I've kind of been enjoying calling them grand sextiles now instead of mini grand trines. But we've got the two grand sextiles, which all together make what people are referring to as the Barbault Basket. And we'll get into each zodiac sign and what it means for you. Now, really, I've been covering these placements, so we'll kind of add on top of the ones that I've already done. Hey, what's going on, Sydney? Oh, and hey, good to see you, Sedona Angel. But we'll go over. We already touched on what these placements are in my Jupiter and Leo video, the new moon in Cancer, because that was dealing with the Mercury retrograde, all these things for each zodiac sign. So go ahead and check those out if you haven't. If you want to know more on these readings, if you feel like they hit for you or anything like that, you can get deeper into them. Especially my Jupiter and Leo video was like a hit, so I must have been saying something right on them, right? But no, with this one, we're going to talk about, it's kind of a release valve that's happening in whatever house Leo rules for you, but we'll go through each sign. And so if you have your rising sign, good, check out that one. But then also you can just use your sun sign as well for the readings that we're going to go into. But we'll touch on what the basket itself is, the Barbault Basket. And so we've got a couple slides on that, and then we've got the slides for each of the zodiac signs we'll go into. Really still sitting in this calm before the storm kind of energy. We had that Mars-Uranus conjunction that came in. And we're going to touch on this in this presentation. But with the Mars-Uranus conjunction, we're really right now on the last day of the window that I gave for it, which is so interesting because it is Friday. We've got this weekend coming up, all the stuff that's going on over in Iran, in the Middle East, which really isn't being reported on by the news that much. I find that to be really interesting. There's little sound bites about it, but they're not really talking about just how crazy the bombing is getting between both sides, between the Gulf nations, the GCC, the Gulf countries, and what's going on in Iran and the infrastructure. I mean, I know I looked just now, and or it might have even been last night, but it was this desalination plant that was bombed too, and they get, I think it is, what was it, 80% of their water in the Gulf countries through desalination. So that's kind of a big thing happening. But we had the markets close. We know that the president we have now waits for markets to close before doing any of these crazy things. So we'll kind of see if anything pops off this weekend, but we definitely have a wider window when you bring in this Barbault Basket into the Mars-Uranus conjunction in this charge. This is how I want to explain it, is this charge that's being held right now, and even a type of seed that was planted. And we did have the both full moon and then more specifically the new moon that we recently had, which is more about planting the seed. The full moon is going to be around releasing of a certain thing, of a certain energy in your life. But yeah, with this new moon, it is in Cancer, it was this planting of a seed. That's one of the big things that a lot of astrologers will talk about with the new moon. And so now that the seed's been planted and there's this heavy charge right now that's being held through Uranus and Mars, and I would even argue that Mars is holding onto that charge right now. And depending on what aspects it makes here, that's when we're going to see the things start to pop off. Really, we're really kind of sitting here holding our breath here as astrologers, and a lot of other astrologers even talking about how spooky it kind of is that we still haven't seen anything yet. But there is an example that we'll give around Mars-Uranus conjunctions and this delay that can come in. And so I think this Barbault Basket is a huge part of it, and it is a pressure release valve that we're looking at too. So we'll dig into all of that, but thanks for tuning in here. And Of course, my website is nightslight.co. Same spelling, of course, as Nightslight Astrology, the channel you're on here. And then linktree/nightslight for all of my platforms if you want to follow me there. But let's get into it here. All right, let's get to the screen. All right, so the truth about the basket, what the Barbault basket actually is and what it isn't, okay? And so this is what we're talking about with the basket. It makes a basket formation, and we'll have it up on the chart here so you can see that formation, but a formation that looks like a basket. And it's going to be Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And they're all at 4 degrees right now. So very powerful and a great way to, I mean, the summer is, what would you say, like, I guess a third of the way through, halfway through. So it's really interesting here that I say kick off the summer, but really how it's probably hit you in your personal life is you have been feeling like the start of these new things for the summer, but it might not feel like you're fully there. This is kind of this thing I've been bringing up, is this liminal space. We're all feeling like we're in the space in between things. But if you've been getting started on those things for this summer, it probably feels less like that now, especially after the Cancer new moon that we had. And that was something I brought up in that new moon reading, is we're finally feeling like we're moving out of this liminal space and getting started with these things. But this placement's going to be such a huge part of that. And really how long it lasts, because it's a longer placement. We are giving the peak energies the 19th to the 21st, but ultimately the energy from this basket is going to last until about like the 7th, 8th, somewhere in there of August. So we're hanging on here, and then we've got this basket formation. Like I said, it's a pressure release valve too. So any of these things that have been getting put off, getting delayed, especially under Mercury retrograde, and we're going to have that ending at that August 7th date there, around then. So this really deals with the delay, though, from the Mercury retrograde, and things that I've been putting off will be addressed. And Jupiter being a part of this, that placement, because we already had the Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto sitting around there and moving, I guess you could say synchronistically. Jupiter just came in to join, and Jupiter's going to move faster than these other planets. So it came in to join. It's going to stay there for a little bit, but Jupiter, a good thing to do. I always say Jupiter's the planet of too much, but it also expands or amplifies whatever it touches. So whatever area of life that's coming into is amplifying that. So if there are things you put off in that area of life, things that you've been ignoring, they're going to be less easily ignorable. If it's been something that you've been investing into a lot, then you're going to see the payoff come from that. So Jupiter has this reputation of being a planet that gives you all these gifts, and it's just so beautiful. And that is a true part of Jupiter. But the thing that is just, it makes you understand it a lot more, is it amplifies or expands whatever it touches. And so if you have bad things going on in that house of your chart, then it's going to actually create more of an issue there. Or it will just ultimately force you to confront that issue. So that's kind of just a good thing to have in the background for when we do get into the science. But we'll talk a little more up here about the basket itself. And of course, let me know if my sound is bad or anything like that, because I want to make sure it's good. Like I feel like it usually goes a little louder. Oh no, it looks like it's okay now that I moved the mic closer. So yeah, but let's get into this here. So what everyone's talking about with the Barbault basket is, the rarest alignment of our lifetime. Everything changes, and that's really the hype behind it. Of course, it is quite a beautiful alignment or transit, but it's not really in the framing that everyone is saying. And there is this civilizational reset thing that comes behind it. This is what you'll hear a lot of astrologers talk about, is that it's a civilizational reset. And I would say this is almost like a broken clock is right, like twice a day type of energy, because we are in this civilizational reset energy. And I've been talking about this now for months on the channel, but I wouldn't say it's from the Barbault basket. And Barbault himself didn't predict any of these things that people are really talking about that he predicted. Now, he predicted the time of 2020 that we went into, and COVID popping off, and he actually died a year before that too, which is really just interesting. But And I'm not saying there was foul play or anything, but it really shows what he was here, the work he was put here to do, and not necessarily see it through and see how it hits. And you find that with a lot of mystics, with a lot of even just astrologers too, as they put out these predictions and they see them come true, post mortem. But yeah, the claim, Barbault himself predicted July 19th. That's like the claim people are making, and all that stuff. And perhaps there are predictions that he has around this time, but I just wasn't able to find anything on a specific claim about like the rarest alignment of our lifetime. That seems to be tied more to what he talked about in 2020. And we did see this huge change in the direction of civilization because of COVID, because of the lockdowns. And this has created this domino effect of waking so many people up. And even now we're dealing with a lot of the energies from that time coming back. But 4 planets, 1 basket, 1 week, and that's the packaging. And I'd say that's pretty much accurate too. More on a personal level, or combining it even on the mundane level, on the world stage level. You could see that being how that this 1 week will really set the stage for the rest of the year. I would even say going through until 2028 to 2029, right when like about 2028, I'd say like somewhere in 2028, when we have Saturn go into Taurus too. And then it's going to, of course, meet up with Chiron. That's going to be in Taurus too. And it is in Taurus right now. It's going to retrograde back out into Aries. And we'll really see where these limitations are, where we have wounds around specifically the resources we have available to us, and wanting to bounce off of people, depending more on each other, having more of a mutual dependence on one another. And this really, of course, is connected to what's going on with the oil, and the way it's going to affect the markets, affect the products that we have access to. But 3 claims, 1 sky, time to separate chart from chatter, because the real story is stranger than the hype. And I would say, and that brings in the Aquarian vibe, as it really is just more like not more amplified. And this is a very Jupiter in Leo type of thing, as people are really hyping it up in this insane way, but it's not so much as the hype that people are giving it. But the hype that we could even see in this time, something crazy that comes through, I would tie more to this unlocking the Mars-Uranus conjunction. And I'm not even saying it's necessarily going to do that, but we have this whole charge that's being held from that Mars-Uranus conjunction here. And where are we going to see that get released? Where are we going to see the lightning rod through which that comes through, the lightning bolt, where that's going to hit on the planet? But yeah, let's get to the next one. So Truth 1, the name is new. So, and this is kind of what I was getting at, what Barbault actually built. Andre Barbault, and 1921 to 2019. And look at that. I mean, he almost made it to 100 years old. Pretty incredible. So, I mean, that tells you. Built the cyclic index, the summed separations of the 5 outer planets. Its minimum near 2020 was published decades in advance, his famous crisis call. And so this is where we talk about the COVID stuff that came in, and just all the things around that. You could even add in Ukraine and all of these things. And I think with what we see going on in Ukraine, we're going to see that when we went into the charts of Germany, the charts of Russia, all that. There's this whole idea of Poland, and then also Königsberg, or which is now called Kaliningrad, where we're going to see this new world war that pops off. You know, at least in that part of the world, we're going to see it pop off in those 2 areas. I think it's going to be Poland, and where they're very close to one another, but Poland, Kaliningrad area there, or Königsberg, which is what it used to be called, because it is ultimately an Austrian town originally. But his instrument was a curve across decades, not a named week. And so that's the thing, is he, you know, even if he did name some type of week, like this whole Barbault thing that comes in is really about the time that we're in and what the outer planets are doing. So what 2026 added, the Barbault Basket is a 2026 coinage. The name the internet gave this configuration, built on top of his framework. No dated basket appears in his text. The sky is real. The label is marketing. Both things are true, okay? And so that's the thing, is there's a part, and this is why I say the broken clock is right twice a day type of thing, is we got this other stuff that's going on within just the chart of the moment right now. And those things, especially the things we just passed through, the new moon, you know, we're in this lunation right now, that was conjunct Mercury retrograde, also in Cancer. We've got all this stuff. America, a Cancerian nation, is going to deal very much. You can't believe the things that are coming out in the news right now, even, or it's going to be a half truth. Even this election fraud, I guess, the election fraud stuff that they're talking about. I believe that that's going on, and not even was just going on for these last few elections, but for quite some time. Don't forget, I worked at the election office. I saw very interesting things, and I had to deal with Dominion, the people who run the voting systems, and they were not fun to deal with. The energy, I won't even get into it, the energy from them. But what is the actual purpose of this speech that he gave? You know, to me, it seems that it's more about where are we assigning blame to people who are holding up this NDAA from going through, which is not something we ever want going through year by year. It always does go through, and they always put new things into it that it's like we won't have the government funded unless we also accept this, and that. And of course, the big one now is this integration of the U.S. military with the Israel military, which is kind of more hype when you're talking about that, because it is dealing with our intelligence apparatus, merging those two together. But then it also allows a sharing of funding. And so this is just a way so that Israel can, on the surface, look like they're pulling back, like, oh, we don't need your funding anymore. And they get it behind the scenes from that. And they're trying to entangle us, the boomers on their way out, in typical boomer fashion, think they know better. And so than us, the younger generation, the generation, by the way, that the founding fathers were. Okay, look at the ages of the founding fathers. They were all like in their 20s. Some of them were even teenagers. Okay. And they were able to set up a system of governance that was so beautiful. And look at how long it's lasted. Now we're seeing the issues that are happening with it. But you could argue these issues are, of course, because of people dropping the ball on their responsibilities far before we were born. Okay. And allowing this kind of domino effect, for me to use that word again. But no, just that's kind of one thing that we're seeing here in terms of, with that, I went on this whole tangent with the Mercury retrograde in Cancer and all this, but this is what are the stories that are coming out, and you can't really trust these stories are the full truth of what's going on. And they're you know, the chart itself was interesting of Trump's speech. It was at 29 degrees Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules politics. So at that anaretic degree, the most powerful degree that you have right there, within each sign, that 29 degrees, he's talking about, oh, there's all these election issues and all of these things. So this is where you can really bring astrology into the things you see in the political landscape and really give it a grounding effect. So they're not things that stress you out so much, and knowing that this is part of the process. Okay. This is part of what needs to happen for people to wake up, for people to take their power back. We have that Pluto and Aquarius now. We're going to be in there for about 19, 20 years now. That is about power to the people. That's also going to be putting power over the people, but this is power to the people. And so I talk about these things so we realize that these are things we're going to be able to talk about with other people and not have it devolve into this crazy conversation, because we need to look at the boomers that are on their way out. We've got their Pluto in Leo. We've got the South Node in Leo. So over the next 20 years, boomers are going to have, over the next year and a half, but there's going to be a whole 20-year thing with the Pluto opposition, or with the Jupiter to Pluto opposition there. Even that's the next year. But anyway, there's these aspects happening with the boomers having that Pluto in Leo, where Jupiter is crossing it, where the South Node is crossing it, this energy we're moving away from, where you're going to see a lot more of them on the way out. Okay. And with that, what happens when they're on the way out and they lose this grip on their power is it is going to be more about power to the people. There's going to be this focus on the people, but then they're going to try to put control over people too, because with the millennials and Gen Zers, especially the Gen Zers, and even the Gen Alphas, we're looking at and we're seeing that they're finally hitting adulthood, Gen Alpha, the oldest of them, and the things that they're doing with that. But that's going to be, we're just not going to really play into a lot of this energy. So sorry to go on this whole tangent and all that, but I think it's kind of good stuff to have just in the background as we get deeper into all of this and what it is. So all right, so truth two, the shape. So, and that's the thing. So now we get a chance to view the shape here of the Barbault basket. Okay, and you can see like really it's this basket formation, and these are the planets that we talked about: Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, right there. Okay, and then of course we've got just playing around here. Got these other things going on. We've got the Sun, you know, getting towards the end of Cancer here. It's about to conjoin with Pluto, and when it does do that conjunction with, or excuse me, conjoin with Jupiter, but when it does do that conjunction with Jupiter, it's going to be at opposition with Pluto there, and so that's going to be quite an intense energy that we're going to be dealing with, and that's going to be really what would that be? I mean it's going to be at the peak of this energy. That those dates that we were giving, you know, the peak July 20th right there. Okay, and actually at July 20th we're still in Jupiter, so it's more like the 24th. That's the other date that I gave, which was, I think it was the 24th too. Well, we can just go check here. 19th to 21st. Okay, I have another date here. It's later in this that is more like the 24th, or it's like the 19th to the 24th. So we're somewhere in there. But anyway, we've got all these at 4 degrees, okay? And just with a few minutes between each one of them, okay? So Jupiter, 4 degrees, 26 minutes. And that's in Leo, of course, but these are all in respectively different signs. Uranus, 4 degrees, 36 minutes. Neptune, 4 degrees, 22 minutes, and Pluto, 4 degrees, 27 minutes, okay? And then we've also got these retrogrades going on. So like you got 1, 2, and then of course this isn't part of the basket, but you've got Mercury retrograde as well, 3. And then I believe we're hitting that Saturn, or was it Saturn retrograde? Or no, it was the Neptune I was thinking of, yeah, and that's now we're in that retrograde period too. It's been stationing. But Uranus, Neptune, Pluto form a minor grand trine, or you could say a grand sextile to the cradle. Jupiter opposes Pluto and closes it, the handle. Every aspect, and I would say these are like the handles, you know, Pluto and Jupiter right there. Every aspect within a 1/4 degree. So just incredibly tight orbs that we're dealing with right now. And we still have this background charge going on from that Mars-Uranus conjunction, getting ready to discharge. All right, and then Jupiter makes the basket. And then this is the thing too, is I realized when people were talking about this, I'm like, oh, well, that's just Jupiter coming in, because we've had this stuff going on for a while. But a slow Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, grand sextile forming, okay? Now, holding into around 2029, and that's the thing, is the thing that's going to break this mini grand trine, this grand sextile, is going to be Uranus, because that moves in about 7 years. That moves through Gemini, okay? And so that's the one that's really going to break it, and that's going to be around that 2029 period, okay? And then as far as the Barbault Basket breaking, that's going to be Jupiter breaking it, which happens later on. That's that August time frame we were given. But then even when we have the retrograde, I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked at that, but I don't think it's going to quite fall back into that 4 degrees and have us hit the basket again. So this is definitely a confrontational type of energy in terms of it's going to be confronted now. We're not going to be going back over whatever comes up during this time. Unless it's like a mercurial kind of issue and it deals with the Mercury retrograde, because that's something we can deal with in the next Mercury retrograde that we have. Okay, and that'll be like roughly 3 months from now. But a background hum, years long, no headline. And this is, of course, without the Jupiter, okay? Jupiter is what makes the basket, so we're going to see what the difference is here, okay? So with Jupiter enters Leo and for about a month opposes Pluto, trines Neptune, sextiles Uranus. The handle closes the cradle. And yeah, a month is where we're going to be in that looser orb, okay? But really, it's even shorter than that. But if you stretch the orb out to maybe 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees, that's where you get that month period of the basket. The basket isn't the shift, it's the flash bulb. The month the years-long trine becomes visible, okay? And there's going to be a Saturnian aspect that also deals with that too. And this is going to be dealing with the trine that's going over to Saturn once it hits that too, where it starts to become visible. Of course, that's going to be once we're out of the basket period too. And I think around then, we're going to even start to go into the retrograde of Jupiter. So, all right, and the fuse. Mars-Uranus conjunctions ranked by outer planets. So we've got these different Mars-Uranus conjunctions. This is kind of where we're getting into it because we're talking about the fuse. That was the 4th of July, okay? And that was where we had almost 4 degrees there with the Mars-Uranus conjunction, okay? So Mars never left Gemini. It's still in Gemini, okay? At the basket peak, it sits at 15 degrees. It's going to be when it's peaking in this Barbault basket, okay? Carrying the July 4th charge straight into the configuration. And then, so we've got 4th of July. That's the Neptune. This is the outer planet wiring that goes with it. So Neptune sextile at half of a degree. And then Pluto trine at what would that be? At almost a degree here. Okay, but then if you look back into 1997 here, we just get that Pluto, okay, just that single one. And so it was only being fused into that at that Mars-Uranus conjunction, okay? It was only really being fused into Pluto, just a single one. And then same with 2015 here, you've got this single Pluto square that it goes into. And then that's even going to be tied to with 2050. There was an event for that one. I don't want to get that confused because Nord Stream pipeline was later on. That's like the main one I was looking at. But and then 1944, and that's when you're looking at all the stuff that happened during World War II, like the atomic bomb, that stuff that was very much tied to a Mars-Uranus conjunction. But there was a delay that we had in that. Now, not as much of a delay as we're having now, but actually right now we're in the moment. It would be right around the type of delay. So this is where we can start to see this stuff come through. But anyway, that was a Neptune tri at about a degree. Okay, 2026 is the only conjunction in 100 plus years locked tight to both outer planets at once. And so this shows it's going to be bigger than the other stuff that we've really been dealing with these conjunctions, because we have this trinity of convergence, I've been calling it, with these outer planets that's occurred. Okay, and so that's in the background, of course, wired into 2 of these, or really you could say 3 of these, all 3 of them, because Mars-Uranus with the conjunction, sextiling Neptune, trining Pluto, all of that. Okay, but Mars never left Gemini. At the basket peak, it sits at 15 degrees, carrying the July 4th charge straight into the configuration. And of course, I already read that, but we're just going over that again. The fuse and the basket are in one circuit. Okay, and Mars is still here. So we're still dealing with all this stuff. But now what we're going to go over here is the seeding principle. And this is the synodic cycle model. Okay, and this is by a guy named Rudhyar, I think, and then people after him too. But what this is a conjunction opens a new cycle, the seed of a storyline that unfolds at the aspects downstream. The exact day is the planting, not the harvest. And we already went over this with the 4th of July stream. I was very specific, like this could go out a few weeks past it with whatever we're going to see unfold. That this could go out a few weeks, and I gave the window for that peak energy. But now bringing in the Barbault basket into it, what is being called the Barbault basket, of course, because I'm kind of saying that Barbault basket is a little bit fake and gay. It's more of the TikTok astrology, but there is something to it in terms of what planets we're already dealing with, and having Jupiter come in to trigger these things. And I would argue possibly even discharge a lot of this energy that's been getting carried, especially within the Cancerian vibe. Like there's just so much going on between all of these planets and this charge that's been picked up. It's been getting sent out to all of these other planets that are part of the basket, and that's where you kind of see that discharge coming in. But how is that going to all of a sudden unlock and be the lightning rod or the lightning bolt that comes in and hits this world and starts to change things over the summer in this pretty spectacular way? And we may not even see the most of it yet. It may not even be until the next. And this is what I've been saying with the Mars-Uranus conjunction is this Mars-Uranus conjunction, we're going to see some stuff, and it's going to be pretty crazy. And it's going to start out with this new world, new things with technology, all these things. But where you're really going to see it is in 2028 with the next Mars-Uranus conjunction, which will also, of course, be in Gemini. And then, but yeah, a conjunction opens a new cycle, the seed of a storyline that unfolds at the aspects downstream. The exact day is the planting, not the harvest. So I already said that, but just to kind of drill that in. So when July 4th passed without a headline, the question isn't did it miss? It's where does this seed surface? And then, of course, we've got 3 little historical answers. Then we'll get into the charts here for you. for every zodiac sign, and how this can hit you personally, and where this release valve is going to be. There's the planting. We talked about this at the beginning, this whole seeding aspect, which the moon definitely brings in, but you also just have that seed being planted too, especially when you're dealing with Uranian things too. It rules the electricity and the lightning and all of that. So planets can come by. This is one of the earliest readings I did too, watching a planet come by Uranus, pick up a charge, and then and this was something that just came through me. I wasn't even as good with astrology as I am now, but I saw a planet come by in a person's chart. I'm like, oh, that's picked up an electrical charge, and it's going to discharge when it gets over here to I believe it was her north node, and then it set her on this path. That was incredible. And she had a north node Capricorn, which was so interesting. So it was really about her starting this business and hitting the next level with her business, with her Aquarian stuff she had going on in her chart. So it was really cool, but it was a great way for me to see it, kind of learn, and then also use this method of doing a type of channeling when you are doing a reading, because there's a certain level of channeling that comes in and things that come through when you're looking at a chart. But yeah, let's look at the historical stuff. So 1776, this is a good one since we are in the 250th anniversary. We're in the Pluto return of America right now. You know, this is a great case to show it, okay? And this is a gap here that we're working with of 19 days. So we haven't even technically hit that 19-day gap if we're looking, but the seed was the Mars-Uranus conjunction exact June 15th, 1776, okay? So, you know, almost a month before, at 7 degrees 52 minutes Gemini, so almost 8 degrees. And then where you see its surface is the Declaration of Independence. And then you can also make this argument of because you had Pluto in Aquarius too, so you got these kind of interesting things going on between them, okay? And I don't even think Pluto was technically in Aquarius yet. There's one of these that was, I know it was during the Revolutionary War, Pluto was in Aquarius, but I think it might have still been in Capricorn at that time. So, but there is definitely a playoff of the energies, because Uranus is going to be ruling the same things that Aquarius rules. But anyway, we don't want to overcomplicate this. That Mars-Uranus exact June 15th, okay? And then, of course, Declaration of Independence being that moment that where it comes through, being signed, and that's going to be the 4th of July, of course, as we know. And so that's a 19-day gap that we're dealing with. So we're coming into, and we'll see with these other cases, the period where we get that gap in. We've had the strongest of the energies now, so there's been this setup and this seeding for it. And of course, I've been very consistent with how I was talking about this. I did bring up predictions, but I was like, guys, I don't want you to think that like these are the dates where these predictions are happening. I'm just saying these are the things that we're going to see come out of what occurs during this time, okay? And this will be something that is down the line, but it'll be very noticeable this year, but then ultimately it'll really come back up in that 2028 period. But it doesn't mean we're not going to see some of these things. It's just we're kind of giving an idea of the timing here. Okay, the revolution's founding documents surfaced 19 days after the exact conjunction. Both planets still in Gemini, the sign of the written word. Okay, and then the power that comes with it is more of the Pluto, and of course through death, through war, through the Revolutionary War. That's more of the Pluto and Aquarius part of it, because we did have both of those placements, which were in both of those, of course, right now. And note the echo. 1776 seated at 7 degrees 52 minutes Gemini. 2026 seated at 3 degrees 52 minutes Gemini. Same sign, same amount of arc, 250 years apart. Okay. And then we've got case 2. This is 2015, okay? And this is going to deal with the tightest Pluto. Okay, let me read this. The tightest Pluto wiring before ours. This is a 13-day gap, so we're already kind of through that. But this is just an example where it's kind of shorter. So you're dealing with these outer planets. There's this wiggle room that you have with it, okay? And that's why I wanted to show different variations. And the next one will be the longest one that we look at that I was able to find over the last 100 years. The seed, Mars-Uranus exact, March 11, 2015. 15 degrees Aries, okay? And then Pluto square, and yeah, that's about right, yeah. I was just like doing the math in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, it would have been in Aries at that time. And then with a Pluto square at, what would this be, like 2.2 degrees? So that's, I don't know if that's translatable to minutes, because that's but only like a few, pretty much what, like 10 minutes or something like that. Because the minutes go in terms of like blocks of 60, but then the degrees would be like zero point 0.1 to like 0.9. So I'm like doing the math there. But the surface, German wings, 9525, deliberately downed, March 25th, 2015. This is just like a smaller one, but it is an aviation event that you're dealing with, especially when you're dealing with Uranus there, but with the aviation stuff, because Aquarius, which is in modern astrology the ruling planet there, is going to deal with like the sky and the heavens. And even if you just look at the mythology of it, it is dealing with the skies and the heavens, that kind of stuff. The only modern conjunction wired to Pluto as tightly as ours, and its aviation shock surface 13 days downstream, not on the day itself. So that's where you just have another example. But then I would argue you get more of a delay with this one just because of it being wired into 3 planets at once. So most of these are all wired into 1 planet, and just 1, maybe 2. And I'm saying maybe 2 if we were to go back further than 100 years. And then 2022 is our 3rd case and our final case on it. And then we'll get to kind of the charts. The seed that surfaced under the sea. Okay, Mars-Uranus exact, August 1st, 2022, 18 degrees, 42 minutes, Taurus. Okay, so this is August 1st that it's happening, okay? And then where we see, and then this is also when you see, if you go back and really research it, when like the bombs themselves were planted, okay, for the Nord Stream pipeline. And then there was all this lag in between. So what's being seeded and going on right now, and back even around the 4th of July, that we're going to see kind of blow up in a figurative sense, or even maybe literal, that we're going to see blow up coming down the pike here, okay, down the timeline. But the surface, Nord Stream pipelines ruptured by explosives, September 26, 2022. Okay, so that's a 56-day gap. That's almost a 2-month gap right there. So this is as far out as we could be looking as when this is going to happen. And then you can put this into your life too. And this is why I go over this stuff. Of course, I love mundane astrology. I love dealing with the world events and all that stuff. But then also I want you to be able to use this and apply it to your own life. And the gap that can happen, the delay that can happen between these things that you see come up, especially with these outer planets, especially with them all moving signs, especially with how long it takes for you to see things really occur through these outer planets. And they're all in new signs. It's going to take a while for these things to really manifest fully. In the Saturnian sense, we're starting to see things manifest, but the things that come with it that are dealing with these other outer planets, that's where you're kind of seeing this delay that comes in, and things that trigger them, things that start to hold a charge, and they release them in other places of the chart itself, but then within your own chart. 56 days after the conjunction, the Baltic pipelines blew with Mars, by then at 18 degrees Gemini, the sign of conduits and connecting lines. Attribution remains officially contested to this day. And if we're going to even say like an on-the-spot reading I would do right now, I would say that we probably see something happen with Mars in Cancer, because we're a Cancerian nation. Now that doesn't mean we won't see something, but I'm just saying, like, if I was really to put money on it, I'd probably put Mars going into Cancer as being where we start to see something and see this release of the charge. Okay, and this is all kind of within that window too. I guess I'd have to look at the degree we're at right now and do the math, but it should be pretty close to this window that we're looking at for everything too, with this Barbault Basket that's going on. So, but yeah, attribution remains officially contested to this day. The longest gap of the 3, the sea can wait weeks before it surfaces. And then here we just got like a little fun window stuff, and we got like all this. So obviously my window here, I wasn't even thinking of the Barbault Basket, but my window I was looking at for this Mars-Uranus conjunction was from here. Well, actually, it actually went a little further back. It went like kind of, if you're going further back to, I think it was the 29th or the 28th or something like that, because it was from that full moon in Capricorn, going through here to the Mars-Uranus conjunction, which was late on the 3rd of July, going into the 4th of July. Okay, and then we get that separation moment here. We had the new moon in Cancer, and then that was right where, like, we're literally right at the cutoff I had. Of course, not even thinking about this whole Barbault stuff coming in and all that. And now we have all this stuff coming in. Jupiter, Pluto, opposition, exact. So this charge is being held right now. Especially Pluto is good at holding that charge too. And now we're getting that opposition because you saw with the past examples we gave, Pluto can hold that charge and then it can just like lightning direct it into there. And before you had Uranus ruling that electrical charge and that lightning and all that stuff, a lot of people were attributing that to Jupiter in the medieval astrology. So that is really important to note, because Jupiter also is a planet that has lightning. Okay, and it's just like a different type of vibe to it. But we've got that, and then Mercury is going to go direct July 23rd. That's going to be moving forward. It'll be out of this retrograde period, July 23rd. So we've got that going on. And so this is like another peak window here. This is really just the peak window of the basket itself that we're looking at. Okay. Historical delay. Oh, I like this that my AI added this. Historical delay band lands July 17th to 23rd. So if you're averaging out all of the historical stuff and what the delay was between the Uranus-Mars conjunction, okay, or the Mars-Uranus conjunction, whichever way you want to put it, that's landing us at the 17th to the 23rd as really seeing it hit. But of course, like with me looking at the astrology, I can say that you can see it as going out as late as August 7th or so. Okay. So, because that's going to be, I mean, yeah, oh, I'm sorry. So August 7th is when Mercury goes out of shadow, is what I believe it is. Okay. But anyway, yeah, we get that Mercury starting to go direct July 23rd. Okay. And then apply the 13 to 19 day band to July 4th, and it lands July 17th to 23rd. And so this is why I'm saying you could see it even further out, because we had even a 2-month delay with the Nord Stream pipeline. Okay, but just adding all these things in to really give us an idea for this delay pattern and understand it is this feeling of like your breath being held right now. Okay, the basket week itself closing on Mercury direct. The delay pattern and the basket point at the same 7 days. That's the call. All right, and then now we're moving into the chart. So this is really how it's going to hit in your chart. So Jupiter's house, Leo house, is where the pressure gets to move, expand, and turn into growth. That's the release valve. That's where you want to, in a healthy way, you want to release this energy that's been building up, okay? But the pressure point, and where you can see a lot of this building up through, and this is where we brought up that Pluto aspect, is Pluto, okay? And whatever house Pluto is in right now, not natally, but you know, wherever Aquarius is right now, where Pluto currently is, that's going to be where you're kind of seeing something being torn down, rebuilt, because it is this idea of transformation, destruction, and then rebirth, this transformational energy that comes. And it's these oppositional energies and oppositional axis that's happening with this stuff right now. So it's in these opposite areas of life that you see, and that's kind of how it works with these opposites, is how these things get addressed. And it isn't a really, so it is this confrontational energy I was talking about. One axis, pressure on one end, release on the other. The handle runs through your chart. Okay, and then so use find your sun sign for this. If you have your rising sign, you can use your rising sign as well. Rising sign, of course, is always going to be a little bit more accurate. But your sun sign too, I mean, that's how horoscopes are made, is making the sun your first house. So you'll see accuracy in your sun sign too, okay? It's just, I would take it with a little bit more of a, maybe not a grain of salt, maybe that's underselling it, but you have a little more wiggle room with reading your sun sign in this versus your rising sign, which is more it's gonna hit a little bit closer to home, and it is gonna have more of this confrontational energy. Because I even saw with my sun sign stuff, a lot of those in my last couple videos, couple streams, were hitting people, even with the sun sign stuff, like hitting in this major way, but they have more of an option and more freedom with working with that. All right, so we've got Aries sun, Aries rising, okay? Uranus rides your third, Neptune your first, Mars carries the fuse through the Uranus house, okay? And that's the thing right here. So there is this thing that came up as an Aries rising around the way that you're communicating things, around your immediate friend group. This can be around like siblings, neighbors, all that kind of stuff. There is a more of a chaotic energy that's coming in. And this is all dealing with what's really coming in through Jupiter here, and what's ready to, what you're ready to see grow. And this is going to deal with your creativity, with your work, with the energy that you put into your work, the things that you call your own, like the things that you would call your baby almost, you know, those kind of things like that. That really is opposing all these things with networks that you have right now. And we talked about this in the prior readings, but the networks you have, the hopes and dreams, you know, how do you actually achieve those hopes and dreams? Because Aquarius is going to be dealing with the hopes, but more specifically, because Pluto is such a slow moving planet, it's in your 11th house, you know. So with that being in the 11th house, it's going to deal much more with the hopes, the aspirations, and all that before it starts to get into the dreams of it. Okay. And then you're going to have things, especially when you're getting these Pisces transits, where the dreams are coming in and all that. Okay. And we're looking pretty far out. We're looking towards like next year where the hopes start to come true, and then you can start to formulate new things at this next pass around of things going through Neptune and Saturn. That'll be in Aquarius, but we're getting ahead of ourselves talking about next year. But that's just very important to notice there, okay? Is that all these things around creativity, around your flow, around being your authentic self, all of that stuff is really going to be addressed right now through what is going on in your friend groups, whatever volatility is going on within the friend groups, whatever fights you see popping off. And then this is going to be within your networks too. This could be your work networks as well, but just the looser connections that you see with people too are all going to be affected. It's who am I associating with? How am I going to really restructure this version of myself and get back into this this extreme authenticity, or even redefining authenticity too, because I would say Aries are really like one of the most authentic signs per se. It kind of depends on what you got going on in Aries with it, but ultimately as a blanket statement you can say that. But there is a new idea of the self that's been coming in with Aries right now, and this is really going to put the cherry on top of it. But it is through some of this harsher stuff, this very tensional energy, this energy of tension that comes in. Okay, but release valve, Jupiter, 5th house, the stage expands, creativity, romance, the spotlight, original work going public. And that's another thing too, is romance. You could be meeting someone too, and through the meeting of this person and the romance you get into, the chemistry that you have, it makes you realize things about the friend group. You could have friends that are saying like, oh, you don't belong with this person. I would kind of disregard that. With the placements that you have right now, I would disregard that. Like, you know, I mean, it depends. I mean, if they're a longtime friend, sure, but there is this new reinvention of the self coming in that I think is really good to lean into and see where it goes, Aries, okay? And then the pressure point, Pluto, 11th house, the crowd rebuilds, networks, allies, and your place in the collective remade at the root, okay? And that's the thing, is who are these people around you? Like I said, these looser connections that you have, because if you rebuild that, if you have new allies, if you have new networks, okay, if you have a new place in the collective, then that is where you're going to see a lot of this stuff unlock that allows you to really lean on for this next year, that Jupiter that is in Leo right there in your 5th house. Okay, because it's just such a powerful placement for Aries in particular, because it is trining. It's going to be in this positive aspect with your sun over the next year that's coming into. It depends on where your sun lies in your natal chart, but you're going to really see that. So there's this buildup that you're reaching with it, okay? Or you've already hit the peak of it too. And so this energy should be hitting for you in a certain way. Now, right now, there's this feeling with Venus, and I'll try to bring this up with all of the readings, but with Venus and Virgo, there is this feeling too where you should kind of be feeling a little irritated with not so much the friend group, you know, or I would even say disgusted, irritated or disgusted, but not so much with the friend group, although that can be there, but more with those looser connections, the networks that you have, okay, the allies that you have. There could be this feeling of disgust that comes like, how did I let it get to this point, perhaps? But you've got that going on, so. And yeah, just kind of lean into that, but specifically 6th house is going to be dealing with your daily work. So it's like, that's why I'm getting into these networks of people, okay? People that may have seemed like they were on your side. Now you're like, oh, well, their behavior is like this. Is that even? And there's just this turn off to the behavior you may be feeling of those people. All right, and then we've got Taurus sun, Taurus rising. Okay, Uranus in the 2nd. Neptune in the 12th, and Mars carries the fuse through the Uranus house, as we said with the previous one. Okay, Mars is carrying the fuse through all of this. Okay, but this is in your second house. Okay, that where that Mars Uranus conjunction happened, that was in the second house. And so we've already discussed this on the channel, but this is really dealing with new things around the resources that you have available to you, a switch up to the resources, disruption in the resources you have available to you. And then also there could be this thing coming in around self-worth. And how are you viewing your self-worth? Maybe in a different way. Maybe you're viewing it in a radical way, or maybe this thing came in that that kind of messed with your self-worth, and you're picking up the pieces right now. But this is what the basket is about, that. So but there is this thing around self-worth and around the resources you have available to you, around money, income, that kind of stuff, all of that. But the release valve is going to be through the fourth house, okay? And this is like, so the release valve is where you're going to see the stuff kind of expand, where you can use all of this stuff, okay? And so through this, you know, the home grows. And this is a simple way to put it, the home grows. So it's like your roots, your family, what you consider to be your family, your idea of sanctuary, which is very important for a Taurus, the ground under your feet, you know, and then that's being blessed with Jupiter being there, or there's this expansion of whatever issues may arise there so that that ground can be blessed, so it can be fertile, okay? And with that, though, that is where you're going to see the growth, and this is through that pressure point of the career, okay? Career tear down, rebuild, the public role and its structures transform. So there is this whole thing that's going on with the career here, okay? With either your career trajectory, you're in the process of adding things into the career or pivoting within the career or something like that. And not even necessarily your daily work and work environment, although they are going to be related, of course, but more so that you're just seeing this thing happen between what's going on in the home and what you want to see go on in the home, and how you need to alter things within your career trajectory, within the reputation that you have going on, okay, amongst your friend groups, that kind of stuff. Oh, hey, good to see you, Esperanza. I know you always come just in time for Gemini, right? So that's what we got for Taurus here. And we're going to move. And this is really, by the way, I am going to say this is just how we've went through a lot of these placements and a lot of this stuff, but this is just how you're going to see in the next week here with the basket, how it's hitting. But we've already went through a lot of this stuff. You're already seeing these themes come up, and the basket is really where you see it. It's like we're saying here, and how we're using Jupiter coming in to create the basket, the release valve itself, okay? Yeah, Esperanza, we went through some of, I had to pick apart a lot of the TikTok astrology stuff with the Barbault basket, I say with like air quotations, because we've already been dealing with this energy. It's just Jupiter coming in. And then I was also getting into how Barbault like didn't even come up with this stuff. People are just calling it that. And we got into the real works of Barbault himself and all that. So I, I had to be my Aquarian self and get into all this, the radicalness of it, or the revolutionary, what is it, the rebel part of it, and just be like, hold on a sec, guys. But yeah, we're so Gemini sun, Gemini rising, and then so we've got Uranus in the first, Neptune in the 11th, okay? Jupiter's going to be in the 3rd, and Pluto is going to be in the 9th here, okay? And so I'll actually start with the pressure point here, okay? Because with the pressure point, I've been starting with the release valve, but if I start with the pressure point, it's probably a little bit better. The pressure point that you've got going on is really with the beliefs, okay? The worldview, faith, long journey under reconstruction. So it's like with the things that are happening in the collective right now, it's going to have you believing new things about people too. And this is really in true Gemini fashion, I would say, because I think that Geminis are going to be one of the best sign for all this new stuff that's coming in, the way that they operate. It's really going to be your air signs, your fire signs that are going to operate really well under this energy, at least at first, and then you can see this kind of, well, we won't even get into that, but then you can see the earth and the water join up once they kind of get with the, but the pioneers, the way showers are going to be these air signs, especially really when you're dealing with Gemini, because of that Uranus coming in to Gemini and this very Aquarian vibe that we have behind everything right now. But through these changes we're seeing in the collective, this really brings in this new stuff around your beliefs and a reevaluation of your beliefs, but specifically what you believe people are capable of. Okay. That's really what it is. Like I had no idea people are capable of doing this. Like maybe I sold people a little bit short on the way they would rise to this challenge, that kind of stuff. And then through that, through the inspiration that it gives you, you get this release valve, and that's going to be through Jupiter. Okay, you get this release valve that comes in in the third house, of course, here, where your voice amplifies, where you're able to I want to say put more authenticity, and I wouldn't even say that it's not that you're authentic right now, but there's like a new authenticity that comes behind your voice, a new, maybe even authority, you could say. I think that's better. A new authority behind your voice, because it's ignites this type of power within you. There's this new power within you that comes forward, and the way you realize you can affect other people's lives because you see it going on, say like in the online space. Okay, you see what people are rising to the challenge for. And so this really is, I mean, I would say this really goes into about mid-August, but this is something that you're really going to see come through. Okay, is through the reflection of other people and the power that you see them holding, it ignites a new power that you didn't know you had within yourself. Okay, and it allows you to deeply affect the lives of the people around you. Okay, and then of course this is going to deal with themes that are dealing with like siblings, but how powerful your words are, and then contracts too. You know, I mean, really, you think of it that being more of like a seventh house thing with contracts and all that, but there's a way in which that the contracts can fall into it with this too, especially like a verbal contract, a verbal understanding, that kind of stuff. Okay. And then just think the things you're doing on a daily basis, kind of as a Gemini, you like to zip around and do things, and you'll see this new vibe around the way in which you're zipping around and doing things, and a new effect it's having on people. Okay. All right, and then Cancer Sun, Cancer Riding. And so with this, we've got Uranus in the 12th, Neptune in the 10th, Jupiter in the 2nd, Pluto in the 8th, okay? And this is part of your Barbault Basket, if you will. But with Pluto going on in the 8th house too, this is also going to really be dealing with, I guess you could say, the shared resources, your debts, but also the intimacy you can give with people. And I feel like this is... It's in some ways it's a little bit similar to the Gemini one, but a new level of intimacy and closeness that you can have with people, and like, but that is like the pressure point too, realizing how far have I gone around these things, around the shared resources, the shared money, you know, that kind of stuff. How far have I gone with intimacy, all of these things, with allowing debts and all that stuff to come through. And through that, there's going to be this revelation that comes in through Jupiter being in the 2nd house there, this revelation that comes in around how you can earn money, around how you can actually gather resources, and when we were talking about Cancer last time, we were talking about this idea, and this would have been with the Jupiter and Leo stuff, but this was talking about how with Cancer, it's specifically in that what we were talking about with the Jupiter Leo stuff is having this new relationship with money where you're not spending it as fast as you're getting it, or you're allowing yourself to save more money, to gather more resources. Okay. And then seeing that because there is going to be this new money that comes in. And so you don't want to increase the amount of money that you're spending to go with it and be like, well, I deserve this, I've earned it. Better to save and hang on to that money and create this new relationship with it, because, you know, and then specifically even pay off debts that you have, you know, get that stuff out of the way first, instead of paying the typical amount you're paying on say these bills of old debts that you owe or something. Then just paying that off instead, or paying more of it instead, so that you can actually have this new relationship with this gathering momentum you can have as a Cancer. Okay, gathering momentum that you can work with on that. Okay, and then yeah, so this is most of that stuff is from my Jupiter in Leo reading, where I go more in depth on this. But that's just really important to know, because this is where that pressure point is really going to be coming in around, like, okay, like I need to get these debts off of my plate, especially now that this new amount of money is coming in, that this even new self-worth that comes in too. Okay, because I think through the money, through the resources, is where you're really going to see that self-worth come in. The new level of self-worth. Okay, so that's like the main stuff that we're dealing with here. And then of course there is it's this hidden little thing that comes in, this hidden thing and this illusion when you're dealing with the bottom of the basket there, right up here. There is this little you've got the hidden stuff, but then it's also the dreams and all that. So that like whatever disruptive thing comes in, it's going to be addressing these things. Okay, and then ultimately it's going to deal with the dreams that you have around not only just your public image, but your career. And this is all tied in very well with the money and the debts aspect of it that you're dealing with right there. And then is there anything else here? I mean, really, I would just say, if we're talking about the Mercury retrograde in the first house too, with that, there has been this, it's probably something you've already been dwelling on too, because Mercury is going to deal with commerce. So it can be dealing with a lot of these aspects of the money stuff, the debt stuff and all that, especially if you're someone who has clients, that's really where you're getting into that. And having that retrograde is this reevaluation around it, a restructuring that's going on, reassessing, all that is playing into this too. So expect to definitely see this in a major way, more so than the other signs, as a Cancer, definitely, because of what this is dealing with, the Cancer energy. It's what you're working with right now. But you are going to ultimately be doing a lot better towards I'd say like the fall period. You'll be doing a lot better than most people because of these placements you're going through right now. Happy to see you guys having a good time in chat. Oh my goodness, I'm catching up a little bit here. From my mouth to God's ears. Oh God. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we got Leo here, Leo sun and rising. Okay, so Uranus in the 11th. Okay, Neptune in your 9th, and then we've got Pluto in the 7th, Jupiter in the 1st. Okay, so we'll kind of dig in here on all these things here. I'll try to speed it up a little bit here, because we're mostly looking at the Jupiter-Pluto stuff. That's like what the major thing of the basket is, like the handle of the basket is those two planets. But no, your pressure point here is about your partnerships, okay? Partnerships being rebuilt. And really with that going on right now, there's this Aquarian vibe to it, so it doesn't even need to be like a marriage partnership, although that'll come in, and then like reevaluating. I would even say there's this reevaluation of love that perhaps comes in. Really just because you are dealing with that Leo energy, it's oppositional. There's this look back on the long-term relationships, but then this is also like just partnerships too. Like this can be people that you sign a lease with, this like any type of contractual thing right there. There is this reflection that's coming in around it, and this huge thing of taking your power back right now. Okay, really taking my power back and releasing these things around maybe unhealthy relationships I had with any of this contractual stuff, whether it's like the marriages, the long-term partnerships, the it can be like, the roommates, but it's any of this contractual stuff that you've had going on, evaluating it, looking at it and be like, no, I choose to take my power back. I choose to expand these things with myself. I choose to set these new personal boundaries. I choose to have all of this stuff instead. And then the big part about this too is like, it's such a gassing energy, like gassing yourself up energy. So that's the only thing to really look at. It's like not gassing yourself up too much. And then looking at where you got this other stuff going on too. With the stuff going on in your house of belief, specifically Saturn, because Neptune's going to be there for a long time, but the Saturn-Neptune play that's going on is like, okay, like seeing where your beliefs truly are, and then as this Saturn has separated from Neptune, being like, oh, like that's where other people's beliefs are. Like, okay, that's interesting. Like, okay, well, okay then. And just kind of being like, I don't want to really deal with that anymore. And it's funny because it can be a belief that you used to have too about something. It can be like about that too. But then, of course, this is something else I brought in. There's this travel aspect of it. as well. So you do have this option to really go on vacation right now. Like there's a very much a vacation vibe, but the vacation itself could be just that you're not in the same energy that you've been in too. So that deals with a lot of this other like seventh house stuff. It could just be like that. But then, you've also got 11th house Uranus in the 11th too, which is really cool. So with Uranus like being in that, coming into that 11th, the Mars Uranus conjunction that we had, this is really dealing with what is the disruption that was caused within the alliances I formed, within like these looser connections that I have. And there is this tie into like the looser connections changing, the networks that you have changing because of what was going on in this transformational way with the contractual relationships. And so all this stuff is shifting in that basket form that you see. But we'll read the stuff here. Release valve, which is your Jupiter first house, you magnified body, identity, presence, the year the spotlight finds you. Okay, and then that pressure point that we brought up, the seventh house, partnerships rebuilt, the mirror transforms, and so does who stands in it. All right, and then I don't want to be too gassy. That's so, I just realized that. Then we got Virgo here, Virgo sun, Virgo rising. Okay, Uranus is in the 10th, Neptune's in the 8th. Jupiter is in the 12th, and then Pluto is in the 6th here, okay? And so this pressure point that you come up into, okay, is going to be your daily life, okay? Daily life, daily work environment, all that stuff, and then even your health. All that stuff is going to really kind of be rebuilt. And it pains me to say it. It probably pains you to hear. Trust me, it pains me to say it because I'm a Virgo rising, okay? I'm like, really? All right. Well, let's roll up our sleeves for it, okay? But there is stuff around that that's going to get rebuilt, okay? And this is really going to be dealing with a way to bring in new hidden blessings. And a good way to think about this is when years ago, when I was like drinking a lot and I got off of drinking, there was this huge restructuring. This is when I was dealing with a lot of transits like this. This huge restructuring I did in my life that wasn't things that people necessarily saw on the daily or anything like that, but just eating extremely healthier, making sure I'm working out, just cleaning up everything in my life. Okay, and this is very sixth house Virgo kind of stuff here, which is what we're talking about, is the sixth house. But there's just all these things that were cleaning up my life, and then through that, hidden stuff came in, hidden blessings came in. And so I like to equate that to what I'm seeing here with the Barbault basket with Virgo, okay? Because that's really what it is there's this huge transformation and cleaning up and cleansing, purification of that daily work, daily life, health, the routine, okay? All that stuff being related in one way. And then through that, you have the hidden blessings that can come in, okay? And then, but then where you can see this amplify on accident, I guess you could say, where you could see this amplifying in this weird way is not wanting to be seen, like just totally staying away from people. And it's something I'm even struggling with right now, is wanting to just kind of stay in the house, especially because a lot of my work can be done from the home right now. But that's really the major thing that I've been kind of working with right now is making sure I'm actually getting out and doing things, So a bigger first step for me is going back to my esthetician for my skin, and shout out, by the way, to Dermodality it's called, in Las Vegas, because she's great. My friend Victoria, she is incredible, and she runs the place, and she'll give you, like, no matter what your price range is, give you a fantastic deal. But we'll stay on topic with this here, okay? But but me going back to doing that and just like talking to the ladies there and actually having some more of the social time, that's been a big thing for me. Just to really be working properly with my 12th house energy that I'm coming into right now, and making sure I don't pull away too terribly much. So, but yeah, release valve, Jupiter 12th house, hidden blessings, dreams, retreat, the unseen working quietly in your favor. That's the part where it is kind of good, is staying away from the other energies as best as you can. So it's keeping all this energy system. And this is why there's this transformation with the daily routine, the daily life, because it is going to deal with the people that you're seeing on a daily basis. okay? And keeping your energy kind of clean. It's a very big theme with Virgo, keeping your energy clean, staying pure, okay? Keeping all that energy clean so that all this stuff that you're working on can be blessed properly behind the scenes. And then next year being this huge blow up year for you, where you really come into a lot of this stuff, because next year is where we're going to have Jupiter going into Virgo, into your first house. So this is where you kind of just rest and retreat for a little bit and work with a lot of this stuff, which is this weird thing for me because I'm in a very public year. Looking at all my stuff, my year is extremely public, but at the same time, I'm needing to like not get too public. So this is weird dichotomy I'm working with right now. But yeah. And then the pressure point though, through which, like I said, I already brought this up, but the pressure point through which this is coming in is your daily life. So what is really needing to be looked at in your daily life right now? And obviously Pluto's going to be there for 20 years. It's not like you're going to be dealing with this for that 20-year period or anything like that, but it's more about the fact that the Jupiter opposition is coming in. So it's getting addressed right now where alterations can be made so that Jupiter can do its work. Okay. And then of course you also have stuff dealing with your 10th house of career. This is where it kind of gets a little weird. You can have the disruption in the career and all that, but then having a more revolutionary approach towards your career, the stuff that's coming in like that. Obviously, hopefully I said Uranus, right? I might have said Jupiter for a second there, but yeah, Uranus in there, 10th house of career. With Mars coming in, that's something that's getting ready to be released around it, or you've already seen it. It's going to depend on your chart. And then, of course, illusions, delusions that you have around shared resources, around intimacy, around these things, right? That's all kind of running in the background of all this stuff too. So definitely be aware of that too, and that can complicate these things. I would view it even more as that complicating these things a little bit. Okay, but we'll move on here because really the biggest things right here are that daily work, routine, and health, having some play off of, okay, this is how I'm going to bless these things. This is how I'm going to structure these things behind the scenes. So I'm going to work in, this is very much that energy of moving in silence, okay? Make moves in silence, that kind of stuff. That's for the whole year really what Virgo needs to be doing, okay? Making these moves in silence. But yeah, it's that play between health, daily routine, and all that, even purity, and bringing in these blessings that'll really fully unlock. You'll see them coming in, all these types of blessings this year that'll be more hidden and don't show them off. And then next year is where all of a sudden there's so much to show for it. All right, and then we've got Libra Sun, Libra rising, okay? Uranus is going to be in your 9th house, Neptune in your 7th house, Pluto is in your 5th house, and Jupiter in your 11th house, okay? And of course, we brought this up a little bit with the Jupiter in Leo readings, but this pressure point that you're coming in is around your creativity. This can be children if you have it. This is like around your heart space, your passion, okay? Like the chemistry that you have with someone, all that stuff is really going through a transformational rebirth, okay? I know, you notice how I say Uranus differently, just so I don't get the jokes. Uranus. But yes, so you have this transformation that's coming in around that creativity, around chemistry that you have with someone, or just realizing, oh, this is what true chemistry is, but this is where you get this play with the actual creativity itself, because there's this thing between chemistry you have with people and being able to channel creativity in your life. And this kind of can deal with the sacral chakra and the heart chakra, these different things. I guess you could even say the solar plexus. It's really dealing with a lot of these, but really the sacral is the one I would lean on for a lot of this stuff, and the heart, just because of the Leo energy with the heart. This is 5th house energy, and Leo energy, but there's this play going on between that. So, and, if you know about human design, you can always check your human design on this too and see kind of what energies you're working with your energy systems too. That could help a lot. But yeah, that's this pressure point that comes in, is needing a transformation or going through a transformation that's dealing specifically with the heart center and how you're channeling that out, okay, as a Libra. And then through that, you actually have your circle around you, uplifting you, supporting you, okay? Leaning into your hopes and your aspirations. And this is the future opening doors. I love that it says that here, the future opening doors, because this 11th house is going to deal with the hopes and the aspirations and all of that stuff. Even through technology too, with the new technological things that are coming in too. How are people going to be able to support you in getting your work out there? All that kind of stuff. This is where people are around you. So it's almost like, you could say it's kind of the opposite of what we were just dealing with Virgo, okay? Because really, this is where you get a lot more of the center of attention as a Libra, and you get people supporting you and uplifting you in these major ways. In this way, if you're looking at Uranus here, that's going to like totally radicalize your belief systems, okay? It can take you into unexpected places on that unexpected journey, which would be like literally traveling, okay, and stuff like that. And then also you get this shattering of illusions around these long-term commitments. You get a shattering of illusions around that for sure. And you've probably already seen it too. As Saturn has separated from Neptune, this shattering of the illusions around that. Okay. So that's going on. But yes, you're looking at this 11th house, 5th house play. That is the big thing right here. And a new creativity you find through the people around you uplifting you and giving their opinions on things, you know, all of these things, and this great energy that comes in by having people around you who are their true authentic selves, like you have become your true authentic self, and in this final way of this transformation that's coming in. And really you're going to see this take off. Now, obviously, as I've said before, with Pluto here, this is going to be in Aquarius for a long time. So even though I'm reading the Pluto here, it is more the oppositional energy of the Jupiter coming in, which won't come back around for another 12 years, that is really creating the impetus for this, okay? And then, that's what we got for Libra. Good to see you, Sydney. Good to see you. Have a good one. And then we got Scorpio Sun, Scorpio rising, okay? Uranus rides your 8th, okay? Neptune's in your 6th. Pluto is in your 4th. Jupiter is in your 10th, okay? And so with Scorpios, this pressure point that you're coming into right here is really dealing with the home, with the family, with the foundations, and then also with the past too, reminiscing on the past. It can be because, especially with this Mercury retrograde that we've had, there's like a reminiscing on the past. If you look, it's up here in the 9th house, that is restructuring the beliefs that you have around family, okay? And then you've got this stuff going on here, okay? What is this transformation of the family? This can also deal with death too. This, like in some rare cases, this could be like a death in the family that occurs, that makes you rethink things, that can also bring in new beliefs about something. You find out things about this person who passes away and all that. Like I said, this is going to be rare cases because this is going to be chart specific type of stuff, but that is something that you can see coming in there. And then with the Jupiter here being the release valve, though, this is where it goes into the career, okay, and reputation, visibility, all that stuff, okay? Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of covers really, it could also be, you know, with 10th house stuff, the thing that people don't talk about is this level of the veneer or the visage of it too. So this can also shatter illusions you had around career. But specifically, there is an expansion. The things that you had going on around your career space, it's going to be expanded upon, okay? Because Jupiter is going to expand whatever it touches. Jupiter is the planet of too much, so it amplifies it. It's this, like I say, the spigot that it's always going to be turned on. You have to know when to turn it off, okay? So all of these new career things are going to be coming in, but it's going to be through this pressure point that's coming in around the home in the past, okay? And specifically, different ways that you go about home, that you go about family, all of that, okay? Because there's that rebellious energy that's to it, or like revolutionary energy to it, or even through work, the things that come in are going to revolutionize the way that things are set up at home. You can even say that too, but that would, you know, I mean, technically you could really say that, yeah. I'd probably say that that's one of the only ones where I'd read it, one of the only ones of these charts I'd read it kind of a little bit backwards. Because the Pluto stuff, where Pluto is sitting right now, is really that pressure point. But in this case, you could kind of see it being a little bit reversed. I would still lean mostly on the Pluto being like that, but worth bringing up. Sun's going to be coming in there conjoining too. And so there's this huge thing that something around career is really dealing with the things that are going on at home. in this major way. And I would say even, I mean, I just see this as, and I said this in the prior ones, especially the Jupiter Leo one, a advancement in career that allows you to focus on things at home. This could even be like putting in upgrades to the home too. It's funny because my mom is a Scorpio, and that's like literally what's going on for her right now. Is like all these things that are going on in career that have allowed her to put in upgrades to the home. Okay. And you know, it's so funny because I was thinking that these upgrades for the home would be done with at the end of uh, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and it's like lining up right now to be done at the end. And I was so mad when I thought about it, but I'm like, no, that's what the astrology looks like. Home upgrades are going to be done by the end of Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And so, yeah. But I think the last of the work is getting done here on Monday. There's probably going to be some more, but the big bulk of it's getting done on Monday, and then they'll be finishing up. So, but anyway, with this Scorpio stuff here, that is really the big thing. And then this is also the summit call. So you could have a very big career. This is the thing that would be a great example. You could have in your work something that comes in that's like, oh, we actually need a representative for this thing. Okay. We need a representative to go to this meeting or whatever. And then this could also have you like maybe even doing a little bit of traveling. Maybe, but it doesn't necessarily need to be long distance travel because you got Mercury that's in the ninth. So, and it's in Cancer. So you kind of got this thing where you're going to stay more homebound. They might not make you go far, but we've got this event, this expo or symposium that we need you to go through. We need someone to represent the company. You go there and you meet someone from either another company or someone higher up at your company, and they get a feel for your work. They've heard about you in some type of way, and then that gives you this expansion in career. And then through that, there's this thing that comes up specifically around transforming of the home, whether this allows you to get a raise and more upgrades into the home. I'm trying to give all the different examples, but it's just this weird thing. But in true Scorpio fashion, it's hard to get a handle on what this thing really is. Okay, so I'm just trying to give all these different examples. That's why I'm talking over and over kind of about the same thing, is because of that. So we'll leave it at there for Scorpio, but definitely home and career is the big thing that's getting hit. And then even with Neptune and Saturn in your sixth house right here, specifically Saturn in your sixth house, it is just dealing with this new thing around career. It's like a new way you view yourself in career, a new power that you hold that's going to fully be unlocked with Jupiter here in the next year being in your 10th house. All right, then we got Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius riding. And so for this, you've got Uranus in your 7th, okay? Neptune is in your 5th, Pluto's in your 3rd, and Jupiter's in your 9th. I like this placement, okay? It really is just the pressure point that comes in that I've been saying with the Sagittarius readings I've been giving. It is just as long as you're up to the pressure that comes in, you're solid, okay? As long as you can rise to the pressure that comes in, okay? To really the thing that's being forced to be addressed, okay? And so really with this, this is Pluto being in your 3rd house, okay? And as I've said before, of course, it's going to be there for a long time, but we're still in those first few degrees. We're still in the first like year or two of it. You know, it's been kind of going in and out and in and out. And this is the mind rewired. So specifically as a Sagittarius, I would say this whole last couple months, everyone's nervous system's been kind of getting a rewiring, but there's still a little bit going on for you, okay? Of this nervous system rewiring, because it is so much about the belief part of it is such a huge part. We had you would have already seen this hit for the Sagittarius full moon that we had. You would have already kind of seen that hit, but then there is a continuation of that comes in when as Jupiter moves into Leo here. There's this continuation that comes in around that. Okay, of like through these new beliefs that I'm coming into, through this new stuff I'm really dealing with in terms of, I mean, even because of the full moon in Sagittarius, but because of the things I'm reevaluating within myself and all of that, because that's going to be having happened in your 1st house. These things I'm reevaluating and releasing around myself, allowing these new beliefs to come in. It's obviously having you distance yourself from a lot of things, but there is a restructuring of the belief and mental systems that's coming in. So like as everyone else is kind of having it solidify, there's still a little bit more work to be done under the scenes here, that you're behind the scenes, where it's all kind of coming into this crystallization that will really be over the next month, okay? Where this full crystallization comes in, but it puts you so ahead of the game of other people, especially as being a fire sign. Remember I said fire and air signs are going to do the best in this new energy that we're in. So especially with being a fire sign, that's really going to be the big thing, okay, that comes in is, and of course the drawback you have with this is with Jupiter being in the ninth house, I'm not getting too dogmatic with the beliefs. This is obviously something I brought up before, but there is some dogmatism that is needed right now as well. As people are going to start believing in all sorts of wild things, you're someone who can kind of ground them a little bit into into certain things, and also understand people want to expand their horizons with what they believe in. Now, of course, I was mainly leaning on the belief stuff here because of this nervous system restructuring and how it hits a Sagittarius specifically, but there also is this travel thing that comes in too, okay? We're kind of got the same thing that was going on with a little bit of the Leo energy too, where there's travel that can come in too. There's publishing too. Like if you want to start being in, especially with new beliefs, with a new way of thinking that you have, if like start putting pen to paper, you know, and writing things down, whether it's just for yourself and for journaling, or typing a blog or something like that, like putting things down. And it can be making videos too. That's also publishing, but something like that really puts the way that you view the world out there for other people, because it can be so powerful. With me doubling back here to the whole belief thing with Sagittarius right now, and the way showers that they're going to be through that mode of this new world. I mean, it's just so powerful. So it really does need to be shared with other people too. But when I was talking about the mind being rewired, there's also this thing around new friend groups coming in, new ways that you view the friend groups, okay? All of that too. So all of this consolidates together into something really specific here. Of course, disruption that's going on with the seventh house, with these long-term, it's so funny how similar this is in some ways to the Leo reading, but which makes sense because they're both fire signs. But no, you also have this whole thing that happened, a recent change that occurred, like that. I mean, you can say it was disruptive. In some ways it was disruptive, but you're probably getting this vibe now, especially as Jupiter it really gets in there and is making this basket aspect. Now it's all settling, and you see like where this disruptive change has totally created this launch pad. That's incredible. That's really just incredible for you going forward in the next year, really the next like through this whole next Saturn transit. So we're talking about going into 2028 of Saturn being in Aries. Just incredible. Like all the hard stuff has really been done. Aries here, another fire sign, you know, all this fire stuff that's getting hit though, that is burning things away, you know, it's burning things away so that you can really do this higher octave of the fire sign, which of course is that Leo energy where we have Jupiter right now. And you can be the sun. Okay. And that's really what the sun is going to, inform other people of things. Like that is that solar energy. And so that's why I bring up like putting your stuff out there, all that. And through that, of course, tied to that is teaching, because people are going to be interested in your stuff if you're teaching them something, if you're providing them some type of value, you know. And then of course, with the fifth house here, Saturn going on, this really just speaks to how much you can channel your creativity into your career path, okay, into the way people perceive you and all of that. And then even what you're leaving behind with that, as it separates from Neptune, but what you're carrying on with you and how you envisioned it way earlier this year, how it could look. Now you're starting to see that it can actually, that it's reflecting in your world, and how much further it can reflect in your world, because there's this healthier relationship you're having with the Neptunian energy, with the way that you're envisioning things and dreaming them, and how you can put them into reality. I think that's good for Sag rising here, or Sag sun and rising rather. Yeah, we'll move to the next one here. Capricorn sun, Capricorn rising. So we got Uranus in your 6th, Neptune in your 4th, and then your Pluto is in your second and Jupiter is in your eighth. Okay, so with the Capricorn sun and rising here, the beautiful thing with it really is, and this is what I've been bringing up with the Capricorn stuff in general, is like now the momentum is building. Okay, there's still these couple things to get over and all of that, and these last little pivots that need to be made, and then you've kind of got that momentum going, and all this stuff that you've been building behind the scenes, you know, that you've been preparing behind. It isn't even necessarily that it's been behind the scenes, but you're so used to having all this momentum going for yourself that all of a sudden it's just felt in this weird space as you've been building things from the ground up in the last like year or two. You've been building things from the ground up, and now they're starting to show for themselves. Okay, you know. And then here it's funny because it's another earth sign, whereas Virgo is in this whole thing of they're in the process of doing what you did right now. You're getting through that phase. You're moving into the next phase. Okay, and so the pressure point, the money values are rebuilt. What you own and what it's worth redefined. Okay, I love how that's phrased too, because you know all these things that are going on around money, around self-worth, around new ways that you can view it, they're going to be amplified coming into here, and it's going to be through. It can be an inheritance that comes in. It can be like a good investment that paid off and you want to like pull some of that out or whatever. There's some type of way that a shared resource, another person's resource, or an investment, or like you know, like you could even say debts, but with Jupiter it's not so much like that, unless that can be something. Debts that you put off can come back and really haunt you a little bit here. But you're a Capricorn, you know what I mean? Like you're probably not, most 9 times out of 10 you're not dealing with that as much. And then this new way that you can view merging of the resources too. Okay, especially because I mean, like this can deal with marriage or a long-term commitment, because you've got this in your seventh house of those long-term commitments, the contracts and all that, in the sign that rules the home, Cancer. So this could be someone that you live with, like evaluating a new way to share resources with them, someone you're married to in a long-term relationship with, that kind of stuff, which is going to really play into all this. But then also you've got this whole disruption that comes through the daily work, through the health, through all that stuff in there. So there may be a call on doing that. Okay. And that's like really with them. But, you know, I brought this up before. This can even be if you're a like female Capricorn, or I mean even male too, you know, like this can be like expecting a baby. I don't know what came through for me on that. I think it was the Cancer stuff when I did the Jupiter stuff, but this can be like expecting a baby or making sure you're ready for when a baby comes, that kind of stuff. And then you've also got in the fourth house here that Neptune and Saturn. So versus earlier in the year thinking that it would be one way within the home, a lot of this stuff is going to be dealing with the things that you've been working on, I guess, coming home, no pun intended, or excuse like I mean, maybe it's a double entendre, coming home to roost, you know? So the things that you kind of thought would be a certain way in the home with the family, with the foundations, they're kind of looking that way, but looking a little different than you thought. And now you have a better understanding around that stuff. And through all of that, the big thing that comes in is whatever this blessing is that comes in around money specifically. And it's going to be this type of money that you weren't expecting, because it is that eighth house money. That's when I get the money. I'm not expecting eighth house transits. Mine is Aries too. So it's like a windfall of cash. And then I got to like make that last for a while. But no, for you in Leo, yeah, this specifically deals with an inheritance like that can come in, not specifically, but the thing I'm looking at is an inheritance that comes in from the father or the grandfather, or like a father figure, grandfather figure, something like that, something being left behind, or even just a money gift that they give you, something like that. And through that, like there's new values around money that you can redefine. Okay, and it's all tying in to a lot of these career moves that you've been making. Okay. And that's going to deal with other stuff, more specifically like the Saturn placement and all that, how you can have like maybe a career from home, that kind of stuff too. And yeah, I'd say that's pretty much it though for Capricorn. I'm going to catch up on chat here. I'm dozing off. My voice is relaxing. Thanks. I'm happy that you guys like these videos though. Yeah, I was always... I'm starting to like them too. It's funny because I'm such a mundane astrologer, but I noticed with these videos, it was a great way to pick up more followers, get good views, and now I'm falling in love with these videos as well. So I'm starting to want to put them at the end, and I'm learning how to get through them fast and not have it feel daunting. I mean, we only have 2 more signs left. Sag Leo, wow, so crazy because they do feel so. Dude, it's crazy. You know, it's crazy how similar they are. And then it's like funny because obviously you're working with both of those energies, Sedona Angel, but then there's also other people I know that are working with those energies too. Like well, even like that friend I was talking about, Victoria, you know, like she's working with those energies, and it's funny, like I just see how that's like hitting her life too. And so it's this thing that I brought up. I did a collaboration with Jesse I need to upload, transformation podcast. He had taken a break for a while. We have a video. I just need to download it and upload it to my channel. It should be on his channel. But I was talking about kind of the same concept with him, is that astrology, like, it may not be necessarily an exact science, but it is a science. And I picked that up from my friend. I just know him by Oculus. He's an online gamer friend. When I went back to World of Warcraft last year for like a month or two, during eclipse season, I met this guy because I was talking all sorts of like trash in the global chat. You know, I like, because that's the Aquarian in me. I'm just gonna like talk shit online. Like, come on, Mars in the 11th house. Like, what do you think I'm gonna do online? I'm gonna talk some shit. And so I was doing that, and this guy's like, "You seem cool. Hop in Discord with me and like let's chat." And now I like talk with him every other month, every month or something like that. I talk with him. But anyway, he really liked astrology because I was talking astrology in the chat, and one of the things that he says that I've taken with me is astrology is a science, not an exact science, but a science. And I just really like that. So but yeah, so that was Capricorn here. Aquarius sun, Aquarius rising. Aquarius is in your 5th, okay? Or sorry, Aquarius, excuse me. Uranus is in your 5th. Neptune's in your 3rd. Pluto is in your 1st. And then Jupiter's in your 7th. And so before I even talk about the basket itself, the thing that we've really, that Aquarius has been dealing with right now has been kind of rediscovering your love for another, okay? I mean, just even looking at the chart, look at the stuff going on in the 5th house and the 7th, okay? Rediscovering like the chemistry you had, specifically in a long-term relationship, but this can also be like, this could even be with a job. You know what I mean? It's contractual. So this thing that you have the obligation to, whether it's a person, you know, a significant other like that, a long-term relationship, or just this thing that you're tied to contractually, okay? Finding out like, oh, I have a new way of falling in love with this thing. This new thing came in, and now, like, through me re-falling in love in this, I am able to have this personal transformation. And you may not even feel the personal transformation yet. That's typically what you're going to see when we have this full, and we're already in the opposition, but as we get through this oppositional period, as Mercury does its thing too, over here retrograde off to the side in Cancer, that's where you're really going to see all of a sudden this new falling in love with myself through the thing in the relationship, okay? Because it's going to expand what it touches, Jupiter. So it's going to expand this contractual relationship that you have going on, okay? I specifically think of a marriage, but this can be a job thing too, especially because part of this basket is going to have, you know, it's dealing with Neptune, but Saturn's in the same sign as that too. It's dealing with the 3rd house. This is like the daily communications, daily people you're working with and all that. So if you combine all those energies, especially with the stuff you were dealing with earlier this year, which was probably a career change, okay, or a pivot within your career, all of that, there is this growth that has happened as Saturn has separated from it, first of all. But then also there's a way that you know it can look. And then through looking that, you need the support of the other, of that contract, okay, of whatever that contract brings into your life. And you see that blessing comes in too, that the blessing comes in like through that. So that's really the big thing we're talking about here. But that's the pressure point, is where this, how do you want to redefine yourself through all these blessings that you have around you? All these things that have come in around you are making you realize, maybe I didn't have this right idea around myself, and I do love this thing, and I do love that thing, and this is how it can look too, and I have all this freedom with it. So we'll read this here. Pressure point, Pluto 1st house, identity rebirth. You transform at the root while others watch, and other people are going to be seeing it too. And maybe that's specifically where that seventh house is coming in. That's that person who is close to you in that relationship, or the people. This can even be clients around you. This can be that kind of stuff. They see that change within you. And because of that, you're offered something more. You're given something more. And it unlocks the whole entire basket for you. And then with the release valve, of course, that's the Jupiter I'm talking about. The partner brings luck, alliances, contracts, and the one across the table. So there's so much to be said there. I'll leave it in typical Aquarius fashion. I'll leave it more open to interpretation. I'll leave it more ethereal for you and let you play around with that energy right there, because I could go deeper, but I don't feel like that's helpful for an Aquarius right now. You need to be able to kind of keep your head in the clouds somewhat a little bit. So I'll leave it right there. But amazing. I've been loving these Aquarius readings, really, truly. As a fixed air sign, moving into this new energy, like I said, fire and air is going to do so well. I think that Aquarius, I mean, some people are calling it a time we're coming into now, the age of Aquarius. Now there's debate on that, but I think in a general principle of looking at it, you could say so, and Aquarius are going to do like these Aquarius and Gemini, man. There's like, and then you've got like the Leo and Sag. We went into all those air and fire. I mean, keep those in your life. And then last, but certainly not least, Pisces. And it's so interesting because we're moving out of this insanely long period of Neptune in Pisces, okay? And with that insanely long period we had of Neptune in Pisces, it's been pretty rough on Pisces for the last year. I thought it would be rough on them for longer, but I'm seeing and I guess this is the thing I knew, is that there would be Pisces that would flounder for years and years and years, and then the ones that would pivot pretty quickly. You are a mutable sign after all. That you'd pivot very quickly, and then all of a sudden be right up here with pretty much like with the air and fire signs, like just doing your thing, being fine, but still holding that water energy that we've moved away from, being able to hold it in a way that's still healthy. That's really the big thing. But let's look at where this basket is falling in your chart. So Uranus in your 4th, Neptune in your 2nd, Pluto in your 12th, and Jupiter in your 6th, okay? And so this pressure point you're coming on to is just this deep psychological purge, okay? There are endings that are coming in. There are releasings that you need to do, okay? And they're really being confronted around, of course, around the way in which you engage with the collective, that you engage with people, and specifically having to deal with your daily work, okay? So this could be a job where there's a specific Piscean way you're always going to go about your job, because this is in your house of daily work. That's going to be a big theme that comes in, and a purging that's coming in too, okay, around that. And then this is all going to be tied with, when you're looking at the bottom of the basket, stuff with the home, stuff with your self-value, and with career too, obviously. So there's this career aspect that you're flowing into it, but some type of disruption or change that has recently come in, it can kind of be around the home, but you could say home or daily work. There's going to be a reflection that's within the home. We talked about this too in previous readings, in the Mars-Uranus reading and the Jupiter reading. But within your daily work and home, there's this play between it, how you want things to look and how you're really going to bless that in your area of life. So remember, Jupiter, this is the release valve. This is in your 6th house of that daily work, of health, even daily routine, all that kind of stuff. This is kind of where you get some similar stuff to the Virgo. In some regards, you get some similar themes coming up, but work blessed, service, craft, and health quietly winning. Okay, so this is where you can, as long as you've been on top of this stuff, you see the health stuff pay off, the work stuff pay off, all these things. And it creates this new way in which you associate with people, and where you're able to purge things out that maybe you didn't want to deal with in your work environment before. Maybe you didn't want to deal with these things in your home environment before, or through these things being shed in your home environment and being blessed, or in your work environment and being blessed in other ways, you're able to create new things around what's going on in the home. You're able to, especially with this Mercury retrograde going on, reflect back on, what has been really occurring, like what occurred in my past. What can I reflect on? What can I even be nostalgic of? There's this nostalgic feeling that you probably had too. What can I carry with me? What should I let go of? And that's where the releasing really comes in. Okay. And then all of this comes together within the basket itself, and it creates this new form of self-image. Okay. a new form of self-worth is really what I should say more specifically, self-worth. But that's of course going to deal with the self-image, and then through that you can bring there's a new way that you're looking to the people around you. There's a new reputation you have. There's a new public image that you have. And you're able to step into this new workflow that you're going to be having in a much more gracious way, and in a much more, maybe not authoritative, but like so authentic that you have authority behind you. So I would say that for Pisces. I've been loving the Pisces readings as well. Pisces ones have been good. You can look at them and be like, ooh, it seems a little harder to deal with. But ultimately, the stuff that you're dealing with is the 12th house stuff. That is your house. So it's easier if you are an actual Pisces to deal with it. And I don't want to project. This is, what Pisces and 12th house people get is projection onto them. So I don't want to project my own 12th house stuff onto it and say like, ooh, like there's going to be some hard stuff in it. I actually think it'll be quite easy for you, honestly. It's just other people looking at it who don't have these 12th house and Pisces placements would think like, oh, that looks a little rough, but no, I think you'll be able to handle it. All the stuff coming out of nowhere, you're used to that. So anything that comes out of nowhere with this, you can deal with. And it really is going to be dealing with this Jupiter-Pluto axis, because any of the stuff coming out of nowhere in your Aquarius house, your 12th house, you've kind of already dealt with that. Okay. And Pluto's retrograde. Okay. So it's like, hey. But yeah, so that's all the readings that we got, guys. So we went over, of course, the Barbault Basket stuff, the conceptions, misconceptions. So you see, like with the readings that I did, it's not really differing that much from these previous readings. I was just able to thread together my last 3 readings, my new moon, my Jupiter and Leo, my Uranus, Gemini, all these, we've already been working with this. All the Barbault Basket is that activation of the Jupiter stuff. Okay. So let me, I'll obviously all my stuff is up here. If you want to ever book a reading with me, Mercury stations direct at 16 degrees Cancer, and we come back with the receipts. Okay. And then this is where we go through that period, the shadow period. And I think that's when we have the August 7th or 8th or something, when we get out of the shadow. I don't know what I had in my head that was August 7th. It had to have been that. But yeah, whatever surfaces this week, you'll have watched it and called in advance, dated, degreed, and on the record. Okay. So that's the thing. Like you kind of get this idea of what's going to surface this week, the stuff I've been talking about. You've already been feeling it surface. So this is the whole point that I'm trying to make here. And I'll switch to this. This is kind of the whole point I'm trying to make, though, is like these are themes that have already been coming up. It's just that Jupiter expands what it touches. Jupiter is the planet of too much. It amplifies things. So you're going to see this amplification, this peaking of that energy. And this is where that Mars-Uranus conjunction comes in. How did that hit your life? Was that kind of something where you kind of saw a little bit, but you were like, well, it's not the crazy way yet, so we're just going to not. That's where you can see it all of a sudden discharge. Because remember, Jupiter's that other electrical planet, okay? It can like totally discharge some things right there. Now, I think it'll discharge in a different way, but it's worth knowing that. And then, but yeah, with that, Jupiter is the big thing that's coming in here with that opposition. As that opposition becomes exact, okay, that's really what we're looking at, because we're already in the opposition. And this is the flavor that the Barbault Basket has added. So if you've got people on there saying like, this is gonna change the world and civilizational reset and all that, and it's like, no, we've been in that energy, okay? And Barbault had nothing to do with this formation that's going on or anything. This is just a coined term. And as far as it's funny is I heard that David Palmer was also kind of talking about this stuff. I don't get around to watching him very often at all. It's been a long time, but you can tell that he's my teacher because I'm drilling into this. Okay, and I could be wrong, but I think he was kind of drilling into this too. So you can tell that he was like my first teacher, because I'm over here like, guys, like what is even going on here? What are we talking about with the Barbault Basket? But it did get me aware of Barbault's research with his practice and all that stuff. So I'm going to look more into his work now. But no, like really what we have going on is what I've been discussing on this channel for months now, what I call the Trinity of Convergence, and that is Mars. I'm sorry, not Mars, excuse me. That is Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune here that are all going into new signs. Now they're all making this sextile, okay, this grand sextile. So the trine and then the 2 sextiles right there. And then Jupiter joins that, okay, going over here to the other end. That's what makes it into that basket formation we were looking at, of course. And that's where we can get this activational energy, but it's the stuff we've been working on already. It doesn't really add too much flavor. You shouldn't think that Jupiter is going to come in and bless all these things. It's just going to expand the things. It's going to amplify these things in your life. And then through that, you know, you're able to make these proper pivots over this next year cycle and all that. And it's a much slower transit and all that. Ultimately, a great transit because it's going to bring you where you need to go. Okay. Especially if there's been these things that you've been putting off or ignoring in your life. And I'm guilty of it too. Okay. I'm not on some high horse, but like just wanted to kind of make a video to put that out there, and I'll put out the readings on this throughout the week. We'll kind of see. I was a little jumping around a little bit and stuff, but they should work for shorts. If not, we'll just put out the shorts for the actual Barbault basket itself and differentiating that. But I hope everyone enjoyed themselves, and just thank you for stopping in, everyone who stopped in chat and all that. And we're going to see really what goes down the next like week or so here, because I could pivot to new countries. I could pivot to some stuff like that. Charts of that. I want to do the chart of Poland. I want to do the chart of Japan and China. Those are ones that are looking pretty interesting to do right now, and cast out some predictions there. But I've got all my predictions in receipts, and my AI reminds me of them. So I'm kind of just like taking a step back and seeing how, like, which ones hit, which ones don't, because there's kind of a lot under like that we're waiting on here that really have until about like October to kind of hit. So I'm hesitant about putting out too many more predictions. I'm really enjoying this sun sign stuff, so probably do that. We'll have to look at some transits. I need to get into some geopolitics soon, though. It's really just waiting for something to happen. Something's got to happen, dude. I'm freaking bored. Okay, I got an Aquarian moon conjunct Saturn, guys. I'm bored as fuck right now. Like, last thing and I know this is going to sound morbid, but last time anything fun happened was like when Charlie Kirk got shot, okay? And I'm like not condoning that behavior. I think that was terrible and all that stuff. And I wasn't even a fan of Charlie Kirk like that. I think he was a shill for Israel, but like, you know, I was not celebrating his death by any means. Like, I just thought that was wild. But that's like where the last time I actually felt some kind of energy in the population, in the collective. You know what I mean? This is where my Aquarian stuff comes out. I'm like, can we get some energy back in the collective again? Because that Trump speech was something else, man. Like, what on earth? Like, something that we kind of all know is going on, but then you're bringing it out, you're pinning it to communists and all this. It's just too much. So there's the thing is, guys, I looked at the chart for it. So 29 degrees, 29 degree Sag rising when he finally got into the stuff, which was about 7:13 Pacific time, or 6:13 Pacific time, because he started it at 9. Okay. By the time he got into the election fraud stuff, we were at 29 degree Sag rising. Okay. That's where it was at. So, I mean, you can even just say Sag rising in general for it, but this is going to deal with politics, with beliefs and all that, with seeding a new belief, okay, around the homeland, around America, because we're still operating under the moon in Cancer, that new moon in Cancer. We got that going on. I mean, it was kind of the perfect astrology to spin a narrative that's a lie, because we also had the Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and then that new moon was conjunct with the Mercury retrograde too. So it's like, you just can't really believe the stuff he's talking about, even though we know about the election fraud kind of stuff going on. Like I said before, I worked at the election office. I saw plenty of it. Okay, and this is after they restructured the whole election office because of the stuff that happened in Nevada during 2020. So I was in the aftermath of that with the higher ups in the election office dealing with that stuff, and it was still pretty freaking wild. But you know, all of that stuff. It's just like with Mercury retrograde, with this huge mercurial energy we're under right now, that is dealing with the emotions and the facts and logic and intermingling them and spinning and threading a new belief or narrative around it. That's what was done. And that's the magic behind what was done last night, okay, with that Thursday speech from Trump. And that's kind of more of the stuff I want to get into. We're just going to see which way the energies go, though, and go from there. But we will be doing zodiac readings each week. Depending, you know, it's like, depending on if it's another video or if it's in line with these streams. But sorry to ramble on, just kind of closing out the stream here. And just thank you everyone who showed up. I love the amazing comments here. I mean, I'm so happy you guys are enjoying this kind of stuff. I used to be so hard on myself as an astrologer, but I am feeling the flow now. And also, hey, good to see you, user OM7. I like feel like I should know your real life name because I see you all the time, and maybe I do and I forgot. But I know we talk all the time, and but I always just refer to you by your screen name. So of course you can let me know. But really good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Feel free to find your zodiac sign and your rising sign too. But I will go ahead and sign out. Just so incredible to see everyone. Such a fun night. Maybe I should start a little later than I used to, because it worked out tonight pretty well. But thanks for watching Night's Light Astrology, and have a good one, beautiful souls. Have a great weekend.